Alright, so I know you guys have been waiting for me to do the CZeroMedia 600 front end swap on the CB550. I have done my research. I have ordered all the parts I needed. It's getting custom built, mostly from a company called Cognito Moto. And I'm just waiting for those parts to arrive my house. So I have a few weeks of free time with a CB550 while I wait for the CZeroMedia parts to arrive. And I started thinking, like, what kind of improvements can I do to the bike before I start doing the swap. And I remember that the last season of riding, my clutch was starting to slip up high at a higher RPMs, and no matter how much adjustments I did to the bike, it was still slipping. So with the engine having, like, I don't know, 10,000 miles or so, I don't really know if the clutch was ever replaced. I don't know when it was replaced and how many years or how many miles ago. So I figured I would just go ahead and buy a clutch plate set to be on a safe side, and for two, because I always wanted to understand how a clutch system on a motorcycle worked. I have played with clutch system and flywheels on a car before many times, but never a clutch system on a motorcycle. So I went ahead and decided to purchase a clutch replacement kit. So that's what we're going to be covering today. The parts you need is obviously a clutch plate replacement kit. You can do this two ways, I guess, or three ways. You can replace the clutch plate set only and keeping the existing clutch steel plates that get sandwiched in between these friction plates, or you can replace the steel plates with the friction plates if you have excessive damage, or you can replace the entire clutch system, which includes the basket and the rods and spring systems, all that. I'm not doing that. I know I don't have a major damage. All I need to do is just replace the clutch plates. So over here I got the CK1147 clutch replacement kit from the internet. Now it seems that depending on the year of CB550 you have, you're going to end up purchasing different clutch plate kit. So what I found was this neat diagram online. I hope you can see that. But basically what this chart shows you is that depending on the frame VIN number, you're going to have a different model CB550. So you know, if you have a VIN number that is from the 10001 to 120005, you're going to have the first gen CB550 K series, the K0. If your VIN number happens to start with 10002 dash, then you have a CB550F. This chart even goes into detail as to what kind of engine you might have as well. So, you know, a lot of times you might have a CB550 frame, but an engine from a different donor, which is more important than the frame itself. So make sure you're purchasing a clutch kit for the CB550 that you own. So for today's episode, I'm going to be replacing the clutch plates, friction plates, and the clutch cover gasket. So one thing I want to note is that with the kit I got 7 regular size plates and 1 larger groove plate. And I know for a fact that on my CB550 I have a 7 plate clutch system. So at the end of the day, I may have gotten the wrong clutch kit, but that's okay because I just need to use these 7 and forget about the big one. Alright guys, so before we get started on the bike itself, I'm going to show you how you're going to prepare the friction discs for installation. And the reason why you need to prepare these friction discs is that this friction material is basically made out of cork, like the one used in wine bottles, except it is completely different durability and temperature requirement and all that. Long story short, this material will soak up oil, and upon soaking up oil, it's going to expand. And the best way to prepare for that is to simply soak these plates in oil before installation. The CB550 has what's traditionally known as the wet clutch system, which means it is lubricating itself by using engine oil. So what I have here is some of the engine oil. that was drained out of the bike. So this oil may look dirty, but it's really not that dirty. It's probably got like 100 miles. You can see how clear it is still. What I'm gonna do is just let it sit like this while I walk on the bike so that it is nice and soaked up by the time I get to the installation. Alright, now before you take apart your clutch, because CZeroMedia did a how-to on YouTube, you want to make sure that your clutch is adjusted correctly. So let me just talk about that real quick. There are a couple adjusting points on the CB550. I already took the cover off because I was impatient, but this nut and bolt can be adjusted so that the inner pushing mechanism is at the optimum location. I will describe that in a second. You can also adjust the cable length, one by this lower point, and obviously another adjusting point is up by your clutch lever, right? So if you make those adjustments and clutch is still slipping, then maybe you might want to look into replacing the clutch backs like I am today. So I went ahead and removed the clutch cover simply because I wanted to inspect inside of here before I started ordering parts. To remove the clutch cover, it might be a little difficult if you don't have the right tools. It is held in by these Phillips screw heads, and as you could imagine, especially with the bike being 40 years old, is that it might strip if you try to remove it with a regular Phillips screwdriver. So what you need to do is pick up a, what's the name of this? Impact screwdriver set. So let me explain how you use this. So just imagine that this is in the bike, this bolt, and you take that impact screwdriver up to it, and what you do is just bang it from the top with a hammer. What it does is it would create obviously the force going into the screw itself, so it's not stripping the thread, but at the same time that impact motion would also spin this screwdriver counterclockwise just ever so slightly. So you got the force going in and counterclockwise motion so that you can get these bolts out without stripping it. I highly recommend this tool if you own a motorcycle that's classic like this, or even a classic car like the 280Z I have here. So that's that super convenient tool. I highly recommend you get it. So what you want to do is go ahead and remove the clutch cover. You know, just couple of bolts there, as you can see, sitting on the ground. And this is what you're exposed with. This is what's called the clutch basket, where the clutch plates and steel plates are embedded. When you hit the clutch lever, this cable gets tension, right? It moves up, which in turn transfers the moment to this little lever, which then pushes this mechanism inside the clutch cover inward. And what it's doing is applying pressure to the clutch assembly here, which then releases everything out. And this is so fun for me as a mechanical engineer, taking apart a clutch system on a motorcycle the first time. I'm learning a lot myself. It's cool that they have been able to neatly package everything into this tiny compartment on the side of the engine. Alright, so now that we have explained that process, let's go ahead and get to removing the clutch itself. You got this little piece of metal rod that transferred that energy from clutch cover into the clutch pack itself, and you want to remove these 4 bolts. Alright, so after you remove the bolts and the springs, you want to remove the spring clip here using a tool like this. And as much as I love Harbor Freight you gotta choose carefully what you buy, because this device from Harbor Freight, as budget friendly as it is the worst needle nose plier I've ever owned. I'm still getting by with it, but I need to buy a better one. Alright guys, so here we have the clutch pack inside of clutch basket. Let's remove everything and see what it's made of. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove everything in order so I can put it back in order. Alright guys, and the clutch pack is completely out of the CB550. And this, by the way, is one of the reasons why I love walking on motorcycles. It's because, as you can see here, I removed the clutch system entirely within the span of 30 minutes. If I had to do that on my 280Z or the RX-7 or even the Evo, this thing, which is by far the most complicated of all because it's all-wheel drive and there's transfer case mounted to it and everything, that would have taken me at least a day. Alright guys, and now we're back into reassembly. What I like to do when I reassemble parts like this is I don't really hit it with like a brake cleaner or anything, because you might be removing material, surface coating that is beneficial to the metal. So I just give it a nice wipe and make sure there's no metal scratches or damages to the surface. Alright guys, so the friction plates have been replaced. It's looking good in there in the clutch basket. And one thing to know is that this larger groove clutch pack that came with my kit was not actually used on my CB550. It has 7 clutch friction plates that was replaced, but the 8th plate was not used on my 550. Which is a plate that is commonly used on newer 550, I believe, and like a 750 and newer bikes. So the chart I showed you in the beginning of the video, I guess use that at your own risk, I guess. Alright, so here's what I'm gonna have to do next, is to remove the existing gasket that is caked onto the housing here. And traditionally, as CZeroMedia here, we would have used razor blades to remove this, and I might do that just to get things started for larger chunks. But my mechanic friend recommended me that I get this 3M brush type fitment for your drill, and what it does is it just spins away and cleans off the surface without damaging or scratching the metal surface here. Alright, check that out guys, like brand new. First time using this brush tool. Now one thing to note though, it is not a razor blade replacement. You still need to get the big chunks off, otherwise you'll be trying to sand that off for hours. So just get the big chunks off with your razor blade and then use this 3M yellow pad piecing and clean the surface off, and you get this nice brand new machined finish. So now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and reassemble everything, right? So I'm just gonna hit that with a time lapse. Enjoy the show. Alright guys, here's where I want to pause real quick, because in a factory service manual, you're supposed to torque these up to like 9 foot-pounds or pounds-feet, and I have heard a lot of people snapping these bolts, so I wouldn't necessarily torque these down to 9. Just use common sense, go down to, you know, the appropriate amount where the bolt sits, and then maybe do like additional quarter turn to hand tighten it. You don't need to tighten these up at 9, because last thing you want is snapping these bolts, rescuing it out of this basket and running to the hardware store. Alright guys, now that everything has been installed, I want to show you how you can adjust the clutch engaging point. So obviously you got the lower adjusting point and upper adjusting point by the clutch, but if these adjustments are maxed out, what you can do is adjust the clutch engaging point by playing with this screw here. So I'm just undoing the lock nut right now. And what you expose with is this screw that you can twist. So this here is the clutch lever, right? It goes up and down here. And then there's a little bit of play right now. So what I can do is adjust the, here, let me see if I can get in the right position for the camera. So you can see the play there, right? Now when you take the clutch cover adjusting bolt out, you get tighter, and when you push that in, you get more play. See that? See that much play I just gained? So in my case, because I was maxed out here, not in this picture, but I was maxed out at the lower and at the clutch, I want to pull out the adjuster screw a little bit so that I build up tension here, and with that I can adjust the lower point as well as the clutch point accordingly. Alright guys, so last night we installed a clutch, which was not hard at all. Everything went smooth, fast and easy, which is kind of rare for CZeroMedia, but everything's installed within a couple of hours. It's back in the bike, so what I'm gonna do is start up the bike, put the bike in first gear, and kind of go back and forth, adjust the clutch tension, clutch length and all that, make sure everything's good to go for the riding season. And that is the exact procedure you need to take to break in your brand new clutch. No, just kidding. The reason why you don't really need to break in your clutch is because on this motorcycle it is a wet clutch. I suppose things would be a little different if you have like a Ducati where the clutch is dry, similar to a car. You're gonna have a somewhat a break-in period. But even then, you got probably like 100 miles or less of casual riding on the streets to break in your dry clutch. As far as breaking in a wet clutch system goes, you just want to make sure the clutch packs are soaked, which already it was before I installed it. And after the clutch packs were installed, it sat in even more oil by sitting overnight. So, you know, to each their own. At the end of the day, I didn't see any clutch braking procedures in the factory service manual, and if I ever need to replace the clutch again, it's like $70 in parts. Super cheap compared to doing a clutch job in a car. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the footage. Let me know if it was helpful. Please hit the like button if you liked the video, and hit the subscribe button if you are curious as to what I'm gonna do to this thing, because I'm gonna be doing a Gixxer 600 front end swap. I'm just waiting for parts to come in because it's all custom, and once that comes in, I'm going to be starting the front end swap, as well as rims and tires swapping front and back, and all that fun stuff. So thanks again, guys. See you in the next video. Peace.